I never thought I'd be standing here, in front of this office door, my palms sweating, my heart beating way too fast. The name on the glass reads, Carter and Bloom. It sounds fancy, established. I straighten my tie, the only one I have left that isn't at the pawn shop. This is my last shot. I take a deep breath and push the door open. The office is quiet, too quiet. It smells like lemon cleaner and new carpet. A woman sits behind a large desk, her back to me, looking out the window. Her hair is styled perfectly. She turns around, and my world stops. It's my mom. She looks at me. Not like my mom looks at me. She looks at me like a stranger, a potential employee. Her face is calm, professional. There's no smile, no warmth, just a cool, assessing gaze. "Good morning, Mr. Carter," she says. Her voice is even. It doesn't sound like her voice. It sounds like a boss's voice. "Let's talk about your qualifications." The air leaves my lungs. I can't breathe. I can't move. All I can do is stare at her, sitting in that big leather chair, in her office, at her company. Carter and Bloom. Carter, her maiden name, and Bloom, my father's middle name. This is her company, the one I laughed at. My mind flashes back. It was just a few months ago. I was sitting in her kitchen, the one with the chipped yellow tiles she always meant to replace. I was wearing a $2,000 suit. I felt so big, so important. She was telling me about her business, her catering business. She was so proud. "We're expanding, Adam, hiring more staff. We even landed the Johnson wedding contract." I remember the feeling, this pity, this condescension. I took a sip of the cheap wine she always buys, and I laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. "Mom, that's cute," I said. The words felt so sharp and clever in my mouth. "But you don't understand how real business works, corporate business, not party platters." I saw it. I saw the flicker in her eyes, a little flinch, like I'd poked her. But she just smiled, that polite, patient smile she's always had. She changed the subject, asked me about my work, and I talked. I talked for 20 minutes about market shares and merger potentials. I didn't ask her another thing. Then, a few weeks later, we fought. I hadn't visited in over a month. She called, her voice soft with worry. "I just miss you, honey. You're always so busy." And I was stressed. The merger at my company was getting messy. I was snapping at everyone, and I snapped at her. The words just tumbled out, ugly and final. "I don't need you anymore, Mom," I said into the phone, my voice cold. "I've outgrown this, the constant checking in, the guilt trips. I'm an adult. I have my own life." The silence on the other end was heavy. I could hear her breathing, slow, measured. I expected her to cry, to yell, to argue. She didn't. She just said, her voice so quiet I almost didn't hear it, "I hope you never have to find out how wrong that sounds." Then she hung up, and I felt victorious for about 5 minutes. Then I just felt empty. But I buried it. I was Adam Carter, senior manager. I was on my way up. I didn't have time for guilt. Then the floor fell out. The merger collapsed. Our parent company pulled the plug. They didn't just close our branch. They liquidated it. One day, I had a corner office with a view of the Boston skyline. The next day, I was carrying a cardboard box to my car while security watched me. The severance was gone in a month. The rent on my high-rise apartment was astronomical. My savings evaporated. I sold my car. I sold my watch. I moved into a studio apartment that smells like old cigarettes and failure. I applied everywhere. Every corporate job, every entry-level position. Dozens of applications, hundreds, rejection after rejection. Overqualified, not the right fit. My confidence, that thing I wore like a shield, was shattered. I was desperate. I started applying for jobs I would have laughed at a year ago. Retail, data entry. And then I saw it. An email. Carter and Bloom was hiring for an event coordinator. It was a catering company expanding into full event management. The pay was decent. It was a job. I crafted a careful email. I used a generic version of my resume. I hid my fancy title. I just said I had extensive management experience. I didn't make the connection. Carter is a common name. Why would I? My mom ran a small-time operation out of her kitchen in a rented van, not a company with an office that smells a new carpet. And now I'm here, staring at the woman who raised me, the woman I told I didn't need, the woman whose dream I called cute. She gestures to the chair in front of her desk. Please, have a seat, Mr. Carter. My legs feel like wood. I manage to walk to the chair and sit down. The leather is cold through my cheap suit pants. She opens a folder. My resume is inside. She looks from the paper to me and back again. It says here you have extensive management experience, she says, her tone flat. At your last position, can you tell me about a time you managed a difficult team? She's really doing this. She's really conducting an interview. My mouth is dry. I try to swallow. I can't form a thought. All I can see is her face in that yellow-tiled kitchen, the hurt I casually dismissed. She waits. She doesn't help me. She doesn't break character. I look around the office. It's nice. Tasteful art on the walls. A healthy-looking plant in the corner. A framed photo on her desk. It's of me and her from my college graduation. She's hugging me, beaming with pride. I'm smiling, but my eyes are already looking past her, toward my future. And now my future has led me right back to her, broken, begging. I force my eyes away from the graduation photo. The smile on my younger face feels like an accusation. I focus on my mom, on Linda Carter, the hiring manager. A difficult team, I repeat, the words feeling thick and stupid in my mouth. I clear my throat. At my previous firm, I oversaw a team of 12 during the lead-up to the merger. I'm trying to sound professional, but my voice is shaky. I sound like a kid reciting a poem he didn't memorize. She just watches me. Her pen is poised over a notepad. She's waiting for more. There was dissent, I continue, the memory better. Some team members were resistant to the new corporate directives. They were set in their ways. I hear my own words from her kitchen echoing in my head. You don't understand how real business works. The irony is a physical pain in my chest. And how did you handle that dissent, Mr. Carter? She asks. Her voice is so calm. It's the voice she used when I'd come home with a scraped knee. Steady, unflappable. But now there's no comfort in it, only distance. I think about how I actually handled it. I'd mandated longer hours. I'd sent dismissive emails. I threatened job security. I was proud of it then. I thought it made me strong, a leader. I implemented a new performance review structure, I say, choosing my words carefully, lying through my teeth, to better align individual goals with the company's new vision. It's corporate speak, empty words, the kind of thing I used to respect. She writes something down. The scratch of the pen is loud in the quiet room. I can't see what she's writing. Is it a note about my answer? Or is it just a line, a doodle? I have no idea what she's thinking. This is the strangest part. My whole life I could always read my mom. A twitch of her mouth, a certain look in her eyes. I knew if she was happy or worried or disappointed. Now her face is a smooth, professional mask. I can't see my mom in there at all. Your resume indicates a significant gap in employment since your departure from, she glances down, Harrison and Gray. Can you explain that? This is the question I dreaded, the one I practiced for in the mirror of my sad little apartment. But I didn't practice for it with her asking. The market is highly competitive, I stammer. I've been pursuing several promising leads. Another lie. The truth is, I spent 2 months in a fog of self-pity, staring at the water stain on my ceiling, ignoring her calls. I deleted her voicemails without listening to them. The last one, I now realize, was probably her telling me about this very job opening. She nods slowly, not like she believes me, but like she's simply cataloging the response. I see. And what interests you about the event management industry? It's quite a shift from corporate marketing. I almost laugh. A harsh, desperate sound gets caught in my throat. What interests me? The fact that I'm about to be evicted. The fact that the only thing in my fridge is a jar of pickles and regret. I look at her, really look at her. I see the fine lines around her eyes that weren't there a few years ago. I see the simple silver necklace she always wears, the one my dad gave her. She built this. While I was busy looking down on her, she was building a company with her name on the door. A company successful enough to have a real office, to expand, to hire. It's a hands-on business, I finally say, my voice dropping to almost a whisper. It's about creating something, a moment for people, a memory. It's not just numbers on a spreadsheet. I'm not acting anymore. This is the first true thing I've said. I remember the Johnson wedding she was so proud of. She showed me pictures on her phone, the bride laughing, the beautiful table settings. I just scrolled through quickly and said, "Looks nice, Mom." I didn't see the work, the love. She doesn't respond right away. She closes the folder with my resume. The sound is final. She leans forward, folding her hands on the desk. The wedding band on her finger is worn thin. "This position requires humility, Adam," she says, and for the first time she uses my name, not Mr. Carter. It's not my mom's voice, not yet, but it's closer. It requires listening. It requires understanding that success isn't about the size of your office. It's about the strength of your character. It's about knowing you can't do everything alone. Every word feels aimed directly at my heart. My face grows hot with shame. I look down at my hands, clenched in my lap. These are the same hands she held when I learned to walk. Now they're clutching at a last chance I don't deserve. "Do you think you can do that?" she asks. Her tone is softer now, but the question is harder than any other she's asked. "Can you come to work here, at my company, and take direction from me? Can you learn a business you once thought was beneath you?" I finally make myself look up at her. The professional mask is still there, but I see a crack, a deep, profound sadness in her eyes. This isn't about revenge, I realize that now. This is a test, the hardest test of my life, and I have no idea what my answer is. The pride I wore like armor is gone, leaving only raw, exposed nerve. Can I do it? Can I walk in here every day and face the living reminder of my worst self? I'm sitting in this quiet, nice office, and my whole life is shrinking down to this single question from my mother. I wonder if anyone else has ever felt a moment like this, so utterly humbling. I find myself just wanting to know I'm not the only one whose world has turned upside down. Where are you watching this from? Just comment your city. Let me know I'm not alone in this silence. I open my mouth, but no sound comes out. The air in the office feels thick, heavy. It's pressing down on me. I can hear the faint hum of a computer, the distant sound of traffic from the street below. Normal sounds. But in here, everything is frozen. She's waiting. Her question hangs between us. Can you learn a business you once thought was beneath you? My mind is a frantic scramble. I think of all the ways I could answer. I could get angry. I could stand up and yell, "This is a sick game, Mom." I could play the victim. I could cry.
But I look at her eyes, that deep sadness, and I know none of those things would work. They just prove her right. I think about my apartment, the eviction notice tucked under a coffee mug. I think about the empty feeling in my stomach that has nothing to do with Honder. I think about the silence on the other end of the phone when I told her I didn't need her. I look at the photo on her desk again, her so proud, me so oblivious. That kid had no idea what was coming. He thought he was invincible. I force my gaze back to her, to my mother, to my potential boss. I don't know, I whisper. The truth. It's the only thing I have left that's real. I don't know if I can, but I want to try. My voice cracks on the last word. It's pathetic. It's the most honest thing I've said in years. She doesn't move. She just watches me. The silence stretches. A minute feels like an hour.
I can feel every beat of my heart pounding in my ears. This is it. This is the moment she tells me to leave, that I'm not worth the trouble, that some wounds don't heal. Then she leans back in her chair. The leather creaks softly. She lets out a long, slow breath. It's the first unscripted sound she's made. The job involves long hours, she says, her voice different now. It's lost its sharp professional edge. It's tired. It's my mom's voice. Weekends, dealing with bridezillas and corporate clients who change their minds every 5 minutes. You'll be on your feet. You'll be lifting heavy things. You'll be taking orders from people half your age who've been here longer. She's describing the work, the real work, not the glamorous idea I had in my head. You won't have a fancy title to start. You'll be a junior coordinator. You'll report to Sarah, who is 26. She's brilliant, and she doesn't suffer fools. I just nod. I can't speak. The humiliation is a hot wave washing over me. Reporting to a 26-year-old. A year ago, I would have laughed. Now, it just feels like what I deserve. The pay is $45,000 a year, she continues. It's not what you're used to, but it's honest. And there's health insurance. It starts after 90 days. $45,000. It's less than my old bonus, but it's enough for the studio apartment. It's enough for food. It's a lifeline. She stands up. I flinch, unsure what's happening. She walks around the desk and stands in front of me. I'm still sitting, so I have to look up at her. For the first time in my adult life, I feel small in front of my mother. She doesn't offer a hand. She doesn't smile. This isn't a gift, Adam, she says, her voice low and firm. This is a job. You will earn every penny. You will be treated like any other employee. If you're late, you'll be written up. If your work is subpar, you'll be fired. By me. Do you understand? I nod again, my throat too tight for words. I understand completely. This is her way. This is her strength. She's not saving me. She's giving me a chance to save myself. But she's not making it easy. She's making me walk through the fire of my own arrogance. Good, she says. She turns and walks back to her desk. She picks up a pen and scribbles something on a sticky note. Your first shift is Monday, 7 a.m. Be at the main kitchen. The address is on this. She holds out the yellow square of paper. My hand trembles as I reach for it. Our fingers don't touch. She lets go of the note before I can take it. I have to clutch it to keep it from falling. Don't be late, she says. Then she sits down, opens a different folder, and starts reading. The interview is over. I have been dismissed. I stand up. My legs are unsteady. I don't know what to say. Thank you feels wrong. I'm sorry feels too small. So I say nothing. I just turn and walk out of the office. The door clicks shut behind me. A soft, final sound. I stand in the hallway, leaning against the cool wall. I look down at the sticky note in my hand. It's her handwriting. The same looping script that wrote notes in my lunchbox. Have a good day, honey. Love, Mom. Now it's an address,
an order, a sentence. I made it. I got the job. And I have never felt like more of a failure or more of a son. I find myself just wanting to know if anyone out there gets this. This feeling of your entire world resetting, of having to rebuild from nothing, right where you started. Where are you watching this from? Just comment your city. Let me know I'm not alone in this silence. I walked out of that office and the world looked different. The colors were too bright. The sounds were too loud. People rushed past me on the sidewalk, their lives still moving forward. Mine had just been put on a path I never saw coming. I got the job. I should have felt relief, a weight lifted. Instead, I felt a heavier one settle on my shoulders. The weight of what I had to do. The weight of who I had to become. I didn't go home. I walked. I walked until my cheap dress shoes rubbed blisters on my heels. I walked through parts of Boston I hadn't seen in years. Past the old playground where she'd push me on the swings. Past the library where she'd help me with my homework.
Every corner held a ghost of a better version of me, a version that looked up to her. I ended up at the harbor, staring at the gray, churning water. The wind was cold. It felt right. It matched the chill inside my chest. Monday came too fast. I set 3 alarms. I woke up before any of them went off. I put on the only pair of khakis I owned that weren't for an office, a plain, dark t-shirt. I looked like a stranger in my own bathroom mirror. My reflection was pale, tired. The confident smirk was gone, replaced by nothing, just blank fear. The main kitchen wasn't in a fancy office building. It was in an industrial park on the outskirts of the city. The air smelled like onions and disinfectant. The floor was concrete. It was loud, clattering pans, shouting voices, the hiss of a steamer. It was the opposite of my quiet, carpeted corner office. This was real. This was physical. A young woman with a sharp ponytail and a tablet tucked under her arm spotted me. "You the new guy, Adam?" Her name tag said Sarah, my new boss, 26 years old. She looked me up and down, her expression neutral, assessing. "Kitchen rules: hairnet, apron, wash your hands at that station, scrub, like up to your elbows. We don't do half measures here." I nodded, my throat tight. I put on the hairnet. It was humiliating. The elastic dug into my forehead. The apron was stained with old sauces. I scrubbed my hands like she said, the hot water turning my skin red. I felt like I was being stripped down, layer by layer. The senior manager was gone. All that was left was a pair of hands. My first task wasn't managing a team. It was peeling 50 pounds of potatoes. Sarah pointed to a giant bag and a bucket. "Peels go in the compost. Eyes need to be fully dug out. We're making mast for a corporate luncheon, no lumps." She walked away without another word. I stood there, a peeler in my hand, looking at the mountain of potatoes. A year ago, I was deciding on million-dollar ad campaigns. Now, I was worried about potato eyes. I started peeling. The rhythm was monotonous. Scrape, turn, scrape. My back started to ache from hunching over the stainless steel table. My fingers grew stiff. A few of the other kitchen staff, younger guys who moved with an easy efficiency, glanced my way. They didn't say anything. They just watched the older guy in the cheap clothes struggling with a vegetable peeler. I thought about quitting right then, just walking out. The thought was a warm, tempting blanket. But then I saw her, my mom, Linda. She walked through the kitchen, not in a suit, but in chef's pants and a company polo shirt. She was talking to one of the head chefs, pointing at a clipboard. She didn't look at me. She didn't acknowledge me. She was the boss, and I was the new guy peeling potatoes. So I kept peeling. My mind went quiet. There was no room for ego when you were trying to get a thin, even peel. I finished the bucket. My hands were raw. Sarah came back and inspected a few. She nodded. "Okay, now you dice them. Uniform half-inch cubes. Consistency is key."
She showed me how to use the industrial dicer, a terrifying machine with a sharp grid. Keep your fingers back. We don't have time for a hospital trip. I spent the next hour feeding potatoes into the shrieking machine, my heart in my throat every time. The cubes piled up. It was mindless, exhausting work. And for the first time since I lost my job, I wasn't thinking about my failure. I was just thinking about the next potato. Lunch service was a blur of controlled chaos. I was put on plating, a scoop of mashed potatoes, a portion of green beans, a slice of herb-crusted chicken, over and over. My arms burned. The heat from the hot lamps baked my face. I was sweating through my shirt. Sarah moved down the line, her voice calm but firm. "Carter, portion control. That's too much potato. We have a budget." She said it loud enough for others to hear. A flush of hot shame went through me. I adjusted my scoop. At one point, I dropped a plate. It shattered on the floor, sending china and chicken scattering. The whole line went quiet for a second. All eyes were on me, the clumsy new guy. "Clean it up," Sarah said, her voice flat. "Broom and dustpan are in the closet. Then rewash your hands." I cleaned up my mess, my face burning. I felt like I was 15 again, working my first terrible job. The humiliation was a living thing in my gut. But as I got back into the rhythm of plating, something shifted. The shame didn't go away, but it got quieter. It was replaced by a simple, singular focus. Do the job in front of me. Do it right. The rush ended. The last trays went out. The kitchen fell into a post-service lull, just the sound of clattering dishes from the dish pit. I leaned against the counter, utterly spent. My feet throbbed. My back was a solid knot of pain. I was covered in a fine layer of grease and food splatter. Sarah walked by and handed me a bottle of water. "You made it through your first service," she said. It wasn't praise. It was a statement of fact. "Tomorrow, you're on prep at 6 a.m. We're doing a wedding for 300. I just nodded, too tired to speak. I took a long drink of water. It was the best thing I'd ever tasted. I looked at my hands. They were red, a small cut on my thumb from the peeler. They were useful hands. They had made something today. Not a spreadsheet, not a PowerPoint. Food for people. As I was getting ready to leave, my mom walked through again. She stopped near my station. She looked at the clean counters, the empty pot soaking in the sink. She didn't look at my face. She looked at my hands. "The dicing was consistent," she said quietly. Then she moved on, continuing her rounds. That was it. 4 words. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't a hug. It was a professional observation. But it felt like a brick had been removed from the pile on my chest. It was a start. The longest, hardest day of my life was over. And I had to come back and do it all again tomorrow. The thought should have been terrifying, but as I walked to my beat-up car, the exhaustion felt clean, like I had earned it. Has your life ever done a complete 180 on you? Have you ever had to start from absolute scratch, doing work you never thought you'd have to do? I'm sitting in my car right now, just trying to process it all. Tell me where you're watching this from. Just comment your city. It helps knowing this story is reaching someone else. The next few weeks blurred into a new, brutal routine. My alarm screamed at 4:45 a.m. My body learned a new kind of tired, a deep, muscular exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. I learned the kitchen's language. The behind you called out when carrying a hot pan. The corner shouted when rounding a blind spot. I learned that 86 meant we were out of something, and the panic that word could cause. I was no longer Adam Carter, former senior manager. I was just Carter, the new guy, the one who was slow with a knife, the one who had to be shown how to properly wrap plastic around a hotel pan. The younger staff, who moved with a confident, fluid grace, mostly ignored me. Sometimes I'd catch them laughing together by the dumpsters, and I'd feel 1,000 years old. My mother was a ghost in the machinery of her own company. I saw her often, but she never saw me. Or she pretended not to. She was Linda Carter, owner. She moved through the spaces with a quiet authority I'd never noticed before. She'd run a hand over a countertop, checking for grease. She'd taste a sauce from a spoon and give a tiny, almost imperceptible nod. She was in her element, and I was just a part of the element she managed. The work was relentlessly physical. One day, I spent 8 hours deveining shrimp. The smell got into my pores, my hair, my clothes. I'd go home and my tiny studio apartment would smell like the ocean floor. Another day, I was assigned to clean the giant industrial mixer. I had to climb inside it with a scrub brush, my whole body contorted, scraping dried batter from the told steel walls. I felt like I was cleaning my own ego out of there, piece a disgusting piece. Sarah was a fair but unforgiving boss. She didn't care about my past. She only cared about the work in front of me. Carter, these bruschetta are uneven. Do it again. Carter, this walk-in isn't organized to code. I need it FIFO. First in, first out. I learned about food costs, about waste logs, about the precise margin on a single chicken breast. This was the real business I had laughed at.
It was more complex and cutthroat than any boardroom meeting I'd ever been in. The first time I had a real interaction with my mom was a month in. A delivery of linen napkins for a wedding was wrong. They sent white instead of ivory. The bride was going to have a meltdown. I was the one who signed for the delivery. I hadn't checked the packing slip against the order. It was my mistake. Sarah brought me to my mom's office, the same office where I'd had my interview. My stomach was a knot of cold dread. "The napkins are wrong," Sarah said, her voice clipped. "Adam signed for them." My mom looked up from her desk. Her eyes moved from Sarah to me. There was no anger in her face, just a flat, professional disappointment. It was worse than anger. "What's the solution?" she asked me directly. I froze. A year ago, I would have blamed the vendor, drafted a furious email, threatened to pull our account. But that wasn't the language here. I can call the rental company," I stammered, "see if they have ivory in stock for a rush swap. If not, I can drive to their main warehouse myself. It's an hour away. I'll do it on my lunch break." She held my gaze for a long moment. "Do it," she said. Then she looked back at her computer. "Update Sarah." I spent my lunch break driving to a warehouse in another state. I sweated in my car with no AC, listening to static-filled radio. I found the right napkins, loaded the boxes myself, and drove back. I missed my break. I didn't get paid for that time, but the napkins were right for the wedding. When I got back, Sarah just said, "Problem solved." My mom never mentioned it again, but that was the point. I had solved it, not by delegating or blaming, but by doing the hard, inconvenient thing myself. Slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice, the work started to change me. The blisters on my hands calloused over. My knife skills got faster, the dice more uniform. The frantic noise of the kitchen began to make sense. It was a symphony, and I was learning my part. I started to see the beauty in it. The perfect glossy sheen on a chocolate glaze. The way 100 identical canapés could look like a work of art on a tray. The sheer monumental effort it took to make a single event look effortless. I was building something real, tangible. At the end of the day, I could see what I'd accomplished. A mountain of chopped vegetables, a spotless kitchen, 1,000 satisfied guests who never knew my name. The pride was different. It was quiet. It didn't come from a title or a bonus. It came from Sarah nodding after a smooth service. It came from the dishwasher, a guy named Miguel, showing me a faster way to break down cardboard boxes. It came from looking at a perfectly plated dish and knowing my hands had helped make it. I was becoming a worker. I was shedding the skin of the man I had been. And the strange thing was, the man emerging felt stronger, more real. The arrogance had been a shield for a deep insecurity. Now, with the shield gone, I was just raw, but I was also learning how to be tough without it. I still went home to a studio apartment. I still budgeted every dollar. I still felt the sting of my old life. But the shame was receding, replaced by a grim, earned respect. For the work, for my mom, and maybe, just maybe, for myself.
Has a mistake you made ever forced you to become a completely different person? Have you ever found a strange kind of peace in the very thing you thought would break you? I'm still in the middle of this. I don't know how it ends, but I'm starting to see the shape of the person I'm supposed to be. Tell me you're out there. Just comment your city. Let me know this journey is connecting with someone. The wedding was for 500 people, the biggest event Carter and Bloom had ever booked. The air in the kitchen was thick with tension and the smell of searing steak. I was no longer on potatoes. I was on the hotline, responsible for the protein. My station, my responsibility. Sarah put a hand on my shoulder. You got this, Carter. She didn't call me Adam. She called me Carter. It felt like a promotion. The tickets started coming, a waterfall of orders. Fire 3 well done, 2 medium rare. I fell into the rhythm, the sizzle of meat on the grill.
The timer in my head, the feel of the tongs in my hand. It was a dance, a violent, beautiful dance. I wasn't thinking, I was just doing. My body knew the moves. Halfway through service, the head chef shouted, "We're 86 on the sea bass." A wave of panic went through the line. The sea bass was the other main course. We were going to fall behind. We were going to fail. I saw my mom at the pass, her face pale. She was looking at the tickets piling up. This was her company, her reputation, everything she had built. An idea clicked, a stupid, risky idea from my old life. "Sarah," I yelled over the noise, "the chicken. We have 100 portions of the herb-crusted chicken from the lunch prep. It's cooked. It just needs to be heated and sauced." She stared at me. "That's not on the menu." "It's a better option than telling people we're out of food," I shouted back. "We can offer it as an immediate complimentary swap. We save the service." It was a gamble. It could backfire horribly, but it was a decision, the kind I used to get paid to make. Sarah looked at my mom. My mom looked at me. Her eyes were wide. For a single second, I saw the woman from the dinner table, not the boss. She gave one sharp nod. "Do it," Sarah yelled. The next 20 minutes were pure chaos. We plated chicken instead of sea bass. The servers were confused, but we pushed through. We communicated, we adapted, we worked as one unit, my unit. The last plate went out. The kitchen fell silent, everyone leaning against counters, breathing hard. We had done it. We had saved the event. That's when I saw him, a man in a tailored suit, his face red with fury, storming into the kitchen, the father of the bride. "Who is in charge here?" he boomed. "You served my guests chicken! Chicken! This is an outrage!" My mom stepped forward, her posture straight. "Sir, I am the owner. There was a supply issue with the sea bass. We made a decision to ensure no one went without a meal." "Unacceptable," he spat. "I am not paying for this. I will ruin you." I felt it then. The old Adam would have hidden, let the boss take the heat. But I wasn't him anymore. I stepped forward, wiping my hands on my apron. "Sir," I said, my voice steady, surprising me. The decision was mine. The sea bass was gone. The chicken was our only option to keep your daughter's reception on track. It was that, or tell half your guests the kitchen had failed. I chose to serve them. I stand by that call. The man turned his fury on me. "And who are you?" I looked him right in the eye. "I'm the son of the owner, and I'm the one who saved your event from a disaster." The words hung in the air. I had never said it out loud. I had never claimed her in this place. The kitchen was utterly still. The man's anger seemed to falter. He looked from my determined face to my mom's proud one to the exhausted but defiant kitchen staff behind us. The bluster went out of him. He just shook his head and walked out. The silence he left behind was different. It was heavy, but it was good. My mom turned to me. She didn't say anything. She just walked over, reached up, and straightened my hairnet. It was a small, intimate gesture, a mother's gesture. Then her hand rested on my cheek for a second.
Her eyes were glistening. "Go home, Adam," she said softly. "You've done enough." I drove home in a daze. I didn't feel tired. I felt complete. The circle had closed. The arrogant son who thought he was too good for his mother's world had used the skills from both worlds to save it. The next morning, a note was waiting for me on my prep station. It was in her handwriting. "Adam, my office, 9 a.m. Mom." My heart hammered. I walked into her office. She was sitting at her desk, but she wasn't the boss. She was my mom. She gestured for me to sit. "I'm promoting you," she said, her voice quiet. "Not because you're my son, because you're a good manager. You saw a problem, you made a hard call, and you took responsibility. That's what this business needs." I couldn't speak. "I didn't hire you to punish you," she continued, her eyes holding mine. "I hired you because I knew the man you were pretending to be would break.
And I knew the man you are, the man your father and I raised, was still in there. I just needed to give him a reason to come out." Tears finally came to my eyes. They were hot and clean. "I'm sorry, Mom," I whispered. It was all I could say. "I know," she said. "I've known for a long time." She stood up and came around the desk. She pulled me out of the chair and hugged me. A real hug, the kind that mends things. I held on to her, this small, strong woman who had built an empire from her grief, and who had the incredible strength to break her own son down to build him back up. I didn't get my old life back. I got a new one, a better one. I'm the operations manager for Carter & Bloom now. I use my MBA to streamline her supply chain. I use my calloused hands to help in the kitchen when we're short-staffed. I finally understand what real business is. It's not a corner office. It's the people you work with. It's the pride in the work. It's the family you build and the family you forgive. My mom and I have dinner every Sunday at her house, and I never, ever take it for granted. This is where my story ends, or really where it finally began. If you followed this whole journey with me, from my arrogance to my downfall to this moment, thank you. It means more than you know. If this story meant something to you, if it made you think about your own family, your own pride, then do me a favor. Hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe. Your support is what lets me tell these truths. Thanks for listening.